My sister's voice was sharp over the phone. It's only for family, Wendy. I froze, my stomach twisting. I'm Wendy Cole, 30. A photographer in Eugene, Oregon, and I'd just learned I wasn't invited to my parents' 30th anniversary party in Portland. My sister's words stung like a slap. Family. Wasn't I family? I'd spent years supporting them, pouring my heart and savings into their lives, only to be excluded from a day meant to celebrate love and unity. But this wasn't just about a party. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than I could have imagined. I hung up my hands, shaking not with tears, but with a fire I hadn't felt before. I wasn't going to beg for a seat at their table. Instead, I made a choice, one that would turn their perfect celebration upside down. A single post from a city across the ocean would unravel their lies, leaving them scrambling to call me, their voices thick with regret. But when they did, my response was colder than they expected. What happened next? Let's just say my decision to walk away changed everything for me, for them, forever. Stick around to hear how one trip and one moment of truth flipped my world and theirs in ways no one saw coming. It was Thursday afternoon. I was editing a photo shoot when my sister Cheryl Morgan called. Her voice, polished from years on the Portland stage, carried that familiar, commanding tone. Wendy, the anniversary party's this weekend, she said, referring to our parents' 30th celebration. It's just for family. Mom's swamped with planning, she couldn't call herself. I gripped the phone, stunned. Just for family. I'd spent years holding this family together, and now I was being brushed off like an afterthought. Cheryl, 33, has always been the star of our family. A theater actress, she commanded attention with every performance, her name glowing on marquees. Our parents, especially my mom, Donna Foster, treated her like royalty. Growing up in Eugene, I watched them rearrange their lives for her rehearsals, her auditions, her opening nights, my photography gigs. They were nice, but never worth a family dinner. My dad, Wesley Harris, once called my gallery show a side project even after it sold out. Cheryl's world was center stage. I was just the crew, but I did more than cheer from the sidelines. 2 summers ago, I sent $15,000 to fix our parents' crumbling roof and sagging porch. Mom said, "You're so good to us, Wendy," but it felt like an expectation, not gratitude. Then there was my brother, Zachary Lane, 32, a lawyer in New York. I covered $10,000 of his law school loans when he was scrambling as a junior associate. His response: a quick thanks, sis text. No one mentioned paying me back. It was just what I did, keep the family afloat. Their demands never eased. Last month, Mom texted asking for $2,000 to spruce up the anniversary party. I was stretched thin, but I sent it thinking it was for something small. Then Cheryl called, her tone syrupy. "Wendy, could you cover airfare for Aunt Linda from California?" "It's only $1,200. I balked. Aunt Linda wasn't exactly close family. "I can't," I said. Cheryl's reply was sharp. "Wow, Wendy, way to let us down." Guilt gnawed at me, but I held firm. The demands kept coming. A week later, Mom asked for another $500 for extra catering. I sent it, though. My savings were dwindling. Cheryl followed up, insisting I chip in for a band, another $1,000. "It's for Mom and Dad," she said, as if I hadn't already given enough. I refused, and her silence spoke volumes. They didn't see my contributions as generosity. They saw them as my duty. That Thursday call from Cheryl wasn't just about the party. It was a lifetime of being taken for granted. I'd driven Dad to doctor's appointments when his car broke down, stayed up late editing photos to meet deadlines while fielding their requests. Yet Cheryl's career was the family's obsession, her reviews clipped and framed, her shows attended by everyone but me. My work, barely a footnote. "You're so busy," Wendy, Mom would say, dismissing my life as an inconvenience. Cheryl's excuse about Mom being too busy to call felt flimsy. The party was in Portland, a 2-hour drive from Eugene. I'd made that trip countless times for their last-minute needs, picking up Cheryl's costumes, helping Mom with errands. Too busy? No, they just didn't want me there. I stared at my computer screen, the photos I was editing now a blur. Anger replaced the guilt I'd felt for saying no to their demands. I'd given so much, but I wasn't even worth a seat at their table. I considered calling Mom to ask why, but I knew her answer: don't overreact, Wendy. Cheryl would spin it with her actress charm, and Zachary would back them up, preaching family unity from his fancy office. I wasn't ready to confront them yet, but I wasn't going to stay silent either. Something had to change. Friday evening, my cousin Faye Brooks called, barely able to speak through her anger. "Wendy, you won't believe what I just heard," she spat, her voice shaking. Faye, 32, works as an accountant in Portland and has a knack for digging up details. She'd been helping with some last-minute errands for my parents' 30th anniversary party and stumbled on the truth. "They're planning a huge event," she said. 50 guests, a live jazz band, a fancy restaurant booked out in downtown Portland. I felt my breath catch. 50 guests, a jazz band. This wasn't the small family gathering Cheryl had described. Faye went on, her words tumbling out. She'd seen the guest list: neighbors, church friends, even distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. The restaurant, a swanky spot with chandeliers and a private balcony, was reserved months ago. "They're spending thousands," Faye said, "and your name isn't anywhere on the invite list." I gripped my desk, my knuckles white. I'd sent money for this party believing it was a modest celebration. Now it felt like a deliberate exclusion, a slap after years of giving everything to my family. I thanked Faye and hung up, my mind racing. I dialed Cheryl's number, my heart pounding. When she answered, her tone was breezy, as if nothing was wrong. "Hey, Wendy, what's up?" she chirped, her actress charm dialed to 10. I didn't waste time. "Cheryl, Faye told me about the party. 50 guests, a jazz band. Why did you lie about it being just family?" There was a pause, then her voice turned sharp. "Oh, Wendy, don't be so dramatic. It's a special day for Mom and Dad. You're too independent, always off doing your own thing. You wouldn't fit the vibe." The words hit like a punch. Too independent. I'd spent my life bending to their needs, driving across Oregon for their errands, staying up late to meet my own deadlines while handling their requests. "Fit the vibe," I shot back. "I sent thousands for that party, Cheryl. I deserve to be there." She laughed, a short, cutting sound. "You're making this about you as usual. Just let Mom and Dad have their moment." I clenched my jaw, fighting the urge to scream. "You told me it was only family," I said, my voice low. "Was that a lie, too?" Cheryl sighed like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "Look, we didn't want to stress you out. You're always so busy." That was it, the same excuse, but now it felt like a knife twisting. Busy, I'd made time for them my whole life. I ended the call, my hands trembling, not with sadness, but with rage. This wasn't a misunderstanding. They'd planned this elaborate celebration, used my money, and deliberately left me out. Cheryl's words echoed in my head. "You wouldn't fit the vibe." It wasn't just about the party. It was about them seeing me as an outsider, someone who didn't belong in their perfect family picture. I paced my apartment, the weight of their betrayal sinking in. My parents had let Cheryl take the lead, and she'd crafted this lie to keep me away. Even my brother Zachary hadn't said a word, probably nodding along with whatever Cheryl decided. I thought of calling Mom to hear her side. But what would she say? "Don't overreact, Wendy," like always. No, this wasn't about getting answers anymore. It was about what I did next. I'd spent years proving my worth to them through money-time sacrifices, only to be dismissed as too independent. But that independence was my strength, not a flaw. I wasn't going to beg for their approval or a seat at their table. Instead, I'd show them exactly what I was capable of. I'd take back my power, not by arguing, but by living for myself. A plan started forming, one that would shake their world more than they could imagine. Saturday morning, I called Heidi, my best friend who works in travel. After yesterday's call with Cheryl, I was done letting my family define my worth. Heidi picked up on the second ring, her voice bright and steady. "Wendy, what's the plan?" she asked, sensing my urgency. I didn't hesitate. "I need to get away," I said. Somewhere big, somewhere for me? Paris, maybe. Heidi laughed, not mocking but excited. Paris it is. Let's make it unforgettable. Within an hour, Heidi worked her magic. She booked me a first-class ticket to Paris, departing Sunday morning from Portland International. You deserve this, she said, confirming a stay at a boutique hotel in Le Marais with its cozy rooms and rooftop views. She also arranged a private tour to the Eiffel Tower and a morning at a quaint café on the Seine. Go all out, she urged. This is your moment. I felt a spark I hadn't in years, not anger but anticipation. For once, I wasn't planning around anyone else's needs. I spent the rest of Saturday packing, choosing my camera lenses carefully. Photography had always been my escape, my way of seeing the world on my terms. This trip wasn't just a getaway. It was a reclaiming of my life. I'd spent years putting my family first, sacrificing time, money, energy. Now I was choosing myself, and Paris was the perfect stage. Sunday morning, I boarded the flight, my heart lighter with every mile. Landing in Paris felt like stepping into a new skin. The city buzzed with possibility, and I was ready to capture it. That afternoon, I stood at the base of the Eiffel Tower, its iron lattice gleaming against a clear sky. I snapped photos, adjusting my aperture to catch the light just right. At a riverside cafe the next morning, I photographed my coffee cup against the backdrop of passing boats, the steam curling in the crisp air. Each shot felt like a declaration I was here living for me. I posted the photos on social media that evening, a simple carousel of the Eiffel Tower's elegance and the cafe's charm. The caption was short, "Chasing joy in Paris." No mention of my family, no hint of the pain they'd caused. I didn't need to air their betrayal to feel free. The post was about my happiness, my choice to embrace life without their approval. I hit share and put my phone down, savoring a glass of wine as the city lights sparkled outside my hotel window. By Monday morning, my post had exploded. Hundreds of likes, comments, shares. Friends, clients, even strangers were chiming in. "Wendy, you're living the dream," one wrote. "Paris looks amazing," said another. I smiled, scrolling through the support. For years, I'd felt invisible, my work overshadowed by my sister's spotlight. Now people saw me not as a daughter or sister, but as a woman carving her own path. The validation wasn't the point. It was the realization that I didn't need my family to feel whole. I thought back to the sacrifices I'd made, time spent on their demands, energy drained by their expectations. Paris was my rebellion, my way of saying I was enough. I walked the cobblestone streets of Le Marais, camera in hand, capturing moments that belonged only to me. A street musician's melody, a couple laughing over croissants, each frame reminded me of the life I could build without their weight. Heidi texted me that evening. "Your post is going viral, girl. Keep shining." I laughed, feeling a warmth I hadn't expected. This trip wasn't about proving anything to my family. It was about proving something to myself. I'd spent too long tying my worth to their approval. Now I was free to create, to explore, to live without their shadows. I didn't know it then, but my post was already rippling beyond my circle. It was reaching people who'd be at that Portland party, people who'd start asking questions. I wasn't thinking about that yet. I was too busy living for the first time in years entirely for myself. Sunday afternoon. In Portland, the anniversary party for my parents was in full swing at a downtown restaurant. 50 guests filled the venue, their laughter mingling with the smooth notes of a live jazz band. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over tables adorned with white linens and floral centerpieces. Waiters glided through the crowd serving hors d'oeuvres and champagne. It was the kind of event Cheryl had orchestrated to perfection, her theater flair evident in every detail. But the mood shifted when my social media post from Paris started making waves. Friends of friends, distant relatives, even church members attending the party saw it pop up on their feeds. The images of me in Paris radiating joy stood in stark contrast to the lies Cheryl had spun about a small family gathering. Whispers spread among the guests. A cousin nudged her husband, showing him her phone. A neighbor leaned over to ask another, "Why isn't Wendy here?" The jazz band played on, but the chatter grew louder, more pointed. Mrs. Janet Ward, a 60-year-old pillar of the church community, was among the guests. Known for her sharp tongue and sharper sense of justice, she cornered my mom Donna near the dessert table. "Donna Foster," she said, her voice cutting through the music. "Why is your daughter in Paris while you're throwing this lavish party without her?" Heads turned. Donna stammered, her face flushing. "Oh, Janet, it's not like that," she said, gripping her champagne flute. "Wendy's so busy with her photography, we didn't want to burden her." Mrs. Ward's eyes narrowed. "Burden her? She's your daughter. You don't exclude family from a day like this." The room felt the ripple. Guests exchanged glances, their conversations now tinged with unease. Faye, my cousin, was there watching it all unfold. She texted me, her messages coming in bursts. "Wendy, your post is everywhere. People are talking. Mrs. Ward just called out your mom in front of everyone." I read the texts in my Paris hotel room, my heart racing. I hadn't meant to cause a scene. My post was about my freedom, not their party. But the truth was out, and it was shifting the air in Portland. Faye's next message hit harder. "It's tense here. Some guests are leaving." The band's upbeat tempo couldn't mask the growing discomfort. A family friend slipped out after murmuring to his wife about family drama. Another guest, a church acquaintance, asked Cheryl why I wasn't invited. Cheryl, ever the performer, tried to laugh it off. "Oh, you know Wendy," she said, tossing her hair. "She's always off on her own adventures." But her smile faltered as more eyes turned her way, skeptical. Mrs. Ward wasn't done. She pulled Donna aside again, her voice low but firm. "I saw Wendy's post," she said. "She's not too busy. She's hurt." "What kind of family leaves out their own?" Donna's eyes darted, searching for an escape. "It was just a mix-up," she insisted, but her words sounded hollow. Guests nearby overheard their murmurs growing. The celebration meant to honor my parents' love was unraveling under the weight of their choices. Faye kept me updated. "Your brother Zachary's trying to smooth things over, but it's not working." Zachary, always the loyal son, told a group of guests. I was fine and just doing her thing. But his defense only fueled the questions. Why hadn't they invited me? Why lie about a small gathering? The party's sparkle dimmed as more people checked their phones, my Paris post now shared across local circles. I sat in my hotel room reading Faye's texts, feeling a strange mix of guilt and vindication. I hadn't planned to disrupt their night, but I wasn't sorry either. For years, I'd been the one smoothing over their messes, funding their needs, swallowing their dismissals. Now my absence was louder than any argument I could have made. The party continued, but Faye said the energy was off. By evening, nearly a dozen guests had left early, their goodbyes curt. Cheryl's perfect production was crumbling, and I was thousands of miles away, living my truth. Monday morning, the calls came one after another. I was in my Paris hotel room, still riding the high of my trip, when my phone lit up with my mom's name. Donna's voice was tight, barely controlled. "Wendy, your post ruined everything," she said. "Guests left the party early because of you. How could you be so thoughtless?" I stared out my window at the Parisian rooftops, my jaw tight. Thoughtless, I'd only shared my joy, not their secrets. "Mom, I didn't mention the party," I said, keeping my tone even. "Maybe people left because they saw the truth." She gasped, then hung up. Next was Cheryl, her voice dripping with accusation. "Wendy, your little stunt turned the party into a disaster," she snapped. "Everyone was whispering about you not being there. You made Mom and Dad look awful." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "I made them look awful. Cheryl, you lied about the party being just family." She ignored that, her tone shifting to a plea. "Just take the post down, okay? For Mom and Dad." The audacity hit me hard. After years of bending to her demands, she thought I'd cave again. Do we even know each other? I asked, my voice cold. You don't get to tell me what to do anymore. There was silence, then a click as she hung up. Zachary called minutes later, his lawyerly calm infuriating. Wendy, you stirred up unnecessary drama, he said. You could have just talked to us. I gripped my phone, picturing him in his New York office, always siding with Cheryl. Talk to you? I shot back. You all lied to me, Zachary. I'm done playing the dutiful sister. He sighed like I was a client he had to placate. You're blowing this out of proportion, he said. I ended the call before he could lecture further. By noon, I saw Zachary's social media post. Some people thrive on drama, he wrote, choosing selfies over family. Sad. The jab was clear, he meant me. Comments piled up, some agreeing, others defending me. Wendy's just living her life. One friend wrote. I didn't respond. Let him paint me as the selfish drama queen. I knew the truth, and so did the people who mattered. I was still reeling when Heidi called, her voice a welcome contrast. Wendy, I saw the chaos online, she said, laughing. Your family's losing it, but you're killing it. Heidi Hart. My best friend had been my anchor through this. Don't let them drag you down, she urged. You're in Paris living your truth. Keep going. I smiled, her words cutting through the noise. I'm not stopping, I told her. This is for me now. Their calls left me shaken but resolute. Donna's blame, Cheryl's pleading, Zachary's post, they weren't apologies. They were attempts to pull me back into their orbit, to make me feel small so they could feel justified. But I wasn't the one who'd lied or excluded. I'd spent years giving them everything, time, money, loyalty, only to be dismissed when it suited them. Now they were scrambling because my happiness exposed their choices. I thought about Cheryl's plea to remove the post. She wasn't sorry. She just wanted the whispers to stop. Donna's accusation stung, but it wasn't new. Blaming me was easier than facing their own actions. And Zachary. His post was just another way to protect the family image, to make me the villain. But I wasn't playing that role anymore. Heidi's words echoed. Keep going. She was right. I didn't need their approval to live my life. Paris was my reset, a reminder that my worth wasn't tied to their expectations. I opened my laptop, scrolling through the comments on my post. Friends, colleagues, even strangers were cheering me on. Their support felt like a shield against my family's accusations. I wasn't going to take the post down. It wasn't about revenge, it was about owning my story. For the first time, I saw how much I'd let their demands shape me. No more. I'd keep living, keep creating, keep choosing myself. Their anger was their problem, not mine. A week later, the consequences were clear. Back in Portland, the fallout from my parents' anniversary party had rippled beyond the night itself, catching my family in its wake. I was still in Paris, wrapping up my trip, when Faye texted me with the latest. Cheryl had lost a major role in a regional theater production. The director, a friend of a church member who'd been at the party, had heard about her role in excluding me. Word travels fast, Faye wrote. They thought she was untrustworthy for pulling that stunt. Cheryl's reputation, built on years of glowing reviews, took a hit. She'd always been the star, but now her actions were dimming her spotlight. Zachary wasn't faring much better. His social media post calling me a selfish drama queen had backfired spectacularly. A colleague at his New York law firm saw it and flagged it to their HR department, citing unprofessional conduct. Faye heard from a mutual friend that Zachary was called into a meeting with his boss. They warned him about damaging the firm's image, Faye texted. He was up for a promotion, but that's gone now. I could picture Zachary in his polished suit, scrambling to explain himself. His attempt to paint me as the villain had cost him more than he'd expected. Back in Eugene, my parents, Donna and Wesley, were feeling the sting too. Their church group, usually a tight-knit circle, had started pulling away. Mrs. Janet Ward, the outspoken church member who'd confronted Donna at the party, wasn't letting it go. She'd shared the story with others, framing it as a betrayal of family values. At their weekly potluck, Faye said several members skipped Donna and Wesley's table, offering only curt nods. One friend, a longtime choir member, told Donna directly, "You should have invited Wendy. It wasn't right." Donna tried to brush it off with a smile, but Faye said her hands shook as she served pie. I was editing photos from my Paris trip when Donna called, her voice softer than before. "Wendy, can we talk?" she asked. "Maybe you could come home and we could sort this out as a family." I stared at my laptop, the Eiffel Tower glowing on the screen. Sort it out. They hadn't apologized, hadn't acknowledged the lies or the years I'd been sidelined. "Mom, I'm not ready," I said, my tone firm but calm. "I need to focus on my life right now." She paused, then said, "We just want things to go back to normal." Normal for them meant me falling back in line, giving without question. I ended the call feeling lighter than I expected. I turned my attention to my photography career, the one constant that had always been mine. My Paris post had caught the eye of a local gallery owner who emailed me about a potential exhibit. I spent hours curating my portfolio, selecting shots that captured not just Paris, but my newfound sense of self. Each image, streetlights reflecting on cobblestones, a child chasing pigeons, was a step toward building a life that didn't revolve around my family's approval. Faye kept me updated on the fallout. Cheryl had called her furious, blaming me for her lost role. "She thinks you planned this," Faye texted. I hadn't. My post was about my joy, not their ruin. But I couldn't deny the satisfaction of watching their actions catch up with them. Zachary, too, was quieter now, his social media silent after the firm's warning. Donna and Wesley faced whispers at every church event, their standing fraying with each cold shoulder. I thought about what normal had meant for so long, me giving them, taking my worth measured by their needs. That wasn't a family. It was a transaction. I wasn't angry anymore, just clear. I didn't need their validation to thrive. My camera, my vision, my choices, they were enough. The gallery exhibit was a chance to show the world who I was, not as their daughter or sister, but as Wendy the artist. As I worked, I felt a quiet strength. Cheryl's lost role, Zachary's stalled career, my parents' social exile. They weren't my doing, but they were consequences of their choices. I'd spent years carrying their weight. Now I was carrying my own dreams, and they felt lighter than ever. 2 months later, I was thriving. Back in Portland, I'd signed a contract with an international travel magazine, a dream I'd tucked away for years. They wanted a series of photo essays on European cities, starting with my Paris shots. The editor had seen my work online and called it vibrant, soulful, uniquely human. I spent days in my studio planning trips to Rome and Lisbon, my camera ready to capture new stories. Each click of the shutter felt like a step into a life I'd built myself, free from the shadows of my family's expectations. I'd cut off all contact with Donna, Wesley, Cheryl, and Zachary. Their calls and messages, pleas, excuses, accusations went unanswered. Donna sent a long text begging for a family meeting to fix things. I read it, then archived it. Wesley left a voicemail, his voice heavy. "Wendy, we're still family." I deleted it. Cheryl tried emailing, her tone a mix of charm and desperation, asking me to move past this. I didn't reply. Zachary silent since his failed social media jab sent nothing. I blocked their numbers, not out of anger, but clarity. They'd shown me who they were, and I was done trying to fit into their version of family. My inbox was now filled with opportunities, not their demands. The magazine contract was just the start. A local art gallery confirmed my solo exhibit set to open in spring. Clients reached out for portrait sessions, drawn by the buzz around my Paris post. I worked late into the night editing photos, sketching ideas for new projects. My apartment, once a refuge from their endless requests, was now a creative haven filled with prints and plans for the future. Faye texted occasionally, updating me on their world. Cheryl was scrambling to rebuild her reputation, auditioning for smaller roles. Zachary kept his head down at work, his promotion hopes dimmed. Donna and Wesley faced strained smiles at church, their social circle still cool. I didn't revel in their struggles. I simply didn't care anymore. Their choices had consequences, and I wasn't responsible for fixing them. My focus was on my own path, one I'd paved with my talent and resilience. Looking back, I saw the lesson clearly: choosing myself was the truest path to happiness. For years, I'd poured my energy into a family that took without giving, that dismissed me when it suited them. I'd believed love meant sacrifice, that loyalty meant erasing my own needs. But their betrayal, excluding me, lying, blaming me, showed me otherwise. Happiness wasn't in their approval, it was in my own hands. I found it in the streets of Paris, in the lens of my camera, in the life I was building. Even if they turned their backs, I was whole. I thought about the people who'd followed my story, the ones who'd commented on my post, sent messages of support. You reading this now have been part of my journey. Thank you for listening, for seeing me. I've learned that setting boundaries, even with family, isn't selfish. It's survival. It's how you protect your light when others try to dim it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever had to draw a line with family? What did it teach you? Share below. Because these stories matter. They remind us we're not alone in choosing ourselves.